Hey guys, which interesting video on Wild Rift. So they're back with the patch notes 3.3c review. And also coming up real soon, we're going to be doing a tier list on patch 3.3c. And I've also actually recorded two videos already in patch 3.3b, which will be releasing over the upcoming days. So just take note that that is recorded in the previous patch, but I do mention that in both of those videos, so it shouldn't be an issue. Alright, so now let's take a look at exactly what has changed in patch 3.3c. There are a couple of changes, but nothing... Okay, I can't say nothing too huge, but we're kind of waiting for the big patch 3.4 on September 14th. So that's 2 weeks from now. And yeah, we'll just check out what's happening here. So Camille getting another nerf. So after the grasp buff, Camille has become really strong again. So what have they chose to do to her? They, instead of having a 80% slow for 2 seconds on her W, now it's an 80% slow that decays over 2 seconds. So basically it's only going to be 80% at the very beginning, and then the slow is going to reduce over 2 seconds, after which it will be gone completely. So this of course affects Camille's ability to chase down people, and when you like QWQ, it makes it a little bit harder to hit your second Q. If you're running away from someone and you're trying to slow them down so they can't chase you, they're going to be able to chase you a little bit more easier. Kind of yet another nerf added to the list. And now we have yet another nerf. Hook shots cooldown is going up by 6 seconds at all ranks. However, if the dash hits an enemy champion, the cooldown will be reduced by 5 seconds. So what basically this means is, technically if you hit an enemy champion, it's a 1 second cooldown nerf, which is completely negligible. But the part where this actually matters is the fact that Camille's only mobility is her hookshot, and you don't always use it to engage onto enemy champions. So for example, very often when you're split pushing, you will either use your hookshot to get to the tower faster to start split pushing, or after you feel like not safe, you're gonna use your hookshot to like run away. So basically, anytime you're using your hookshot for just moving around the map, or basically anything that's not attacking an enemy champion, you're gonna get an extra 6 seconds worth of cooldown. So like even when you max it, like 16 seconds cooldown on the hookshot at max rank is still pretty nasty. So that's a pretty huge nerf in my opinion. And the Hextech Ultimatum, her ultimate, is getting a 10-second cooldown nerf. Now this is no surprise at all. They did this once before, then they kind of reverted it when they buffed like the ultimates all across the board, and now they're technically re-nerfing Camille's ultimate again. So this one is really no surprise there. Now at this point, Camille has basically been nerfed on every aspect. She's been nerfed in terms of cooldown on her passive, cooldown on her Q, W, E, and R. Basically everything cooldown has gotten nerfed. Her Q's damage has gotten nerfed, the true damage ratio has gotten nerfed, now the W slow has gotten nerfed, the W healing has gotten nerfed before, the hookshot cooldown has gotten nerfed quite a number of times before already, and now they have added this new mechanic again, and the ultimate cooldown as well as the ultimate like damage has been nerfed so many times. Like every aspect of Camille's kit has been nerfed so many times, but for some reason Camille is still just that good. Now we're gonna see if this set of nerfs will bring her down a peg or two, but personally my prediction is that she's still gonna be really good, because it's just shown through history that every time she gets a major nerf and everybody thinks that she's unplayable or she's not good anymore, it ends up being that she's still good. So probably this is gonna be the case again. Now Corki getting some very interesting adjustments, so we're gonna go through that one by one. So first up, his Hextech munitions package pickup duration is going down from 1 minute to 45 seconds. Now this is a pretty huge nerf, especially as a Corki player myself. There are plenty of time where you generally want to use your package at Dragon or Herald or Baron, so you're going to pick it up slightly before the spawn of those objectives. So sometimes you want to back to buy an item, but let's say the objective is like 30 seconds from spawning, you can still pick up your package, so you're going to hold on to your package for 30 seconds, and then the objective is going to spawn, and you still have 30 seconds worth of your package to basically work around and try to use it to make an impact in that team fight. Now of course there are a lot of other tactics to counter that, like stall tactics, poke tactics, or forcing Corki to use package by engaging on him, but that's a whole different story. Now the story here is that you have 15 seconds less of holding that package, so you're gonna have to pick up the package way closer to the like dragon spawn time, for example. So let's say it's like last time you could have backed like 40 seconds before the dragon spawn and you still would have package for 20 seconds after it spawned. Now you're gonna have to probably back like about 20 seconds before the dragon spawn so that you can still have it for like 25 seconds after the dragon spawn. So this is a pretty huge nerf. But what did they give him in compensation? Valkyrie's cooldown is going down by 3 seconds at the first rank, and then it's kind of scaling down, and max rank is the same. Now this is a pretty big buff because he maxes Valkyrie last, so it's gonna be at rank 1 for a long time. So basically it's basically, you can see it as it's a 3-second buff for majority of the game, and while 3-second buff for like a 19-second to 22-second cooldown, not the biggest deal in the world. However, you know, it's his mobility spell, so you might that 3 seconds might come to save you sometimes when you're being chased or you're trying to chase someone down. So I really like that buff. And the Gatling gun getting not really a buff or nerf, but kind of an adjustment at the first part, and then, or a nerf at the first part and then a buff at the second part. So what happens is Corki does mix damage, as we all know. So what his Gatling gun used to do is it used to do base damage plus 20% bonus AD as physical damage, and then it dealt more base damage and 20% bonus AD as magic damage. Basically, if you don't know what this means, basically it does 2 sets of base damage, and then it does a little bit of extra physical damage, and then it does a little bit of extra magic damage. So what they've changed that to is they've combined both sets of the base damage. So here, as you can see, 16 plus 16 is 32, 40 plus 40 is 80, so the base damage has remained unchanged. But what they changed is instead of 20% as physical and 20% as magic, now they're changing it to 40% as magic damage. So overall, the damage should be the same. Basically, the damage overall should be the same. The only difference here is that you're now dealing only magic damage and you're not actually dealing physical damage at all. So basically, your E now basically just applies magic damage. Now, why is this bad? Because Corki does mixed damage, but he does 80% magic damage and 20% physical damage. So having more physical damage on your E is actually really helpful, because most people, when you play against a fed Corki, you would build magic resist to counter Corki, like a Maw Mordius, you know, Wit's End, Force of Nature, that kind of thing. And the Gatling gun really helps to semi-counter that by giving you more physical damage. So overall, it's kind of a nerf to put it only as magic damage, which is Corki's main damage type anyways. However, in compensation for that, the stats reduction, or rather the resist reduction, is actually going up by 2 at the base rank, and at max rank it's actually like going up by 5, and each tick of it is actually going up by a really significant amount. It's actually doubling at like all ranks. So overall, I think even though they nerfed this part, the buff is pretty huge. So overall, I think that that's an overall buff to his E. Now finally, his Missile Barrage recharge time is going down from 12, 12, 12 at all ranks to 10, 8, 10, 9, and 8. Now this is actually a pretty huge thing, because I found that especially at the earlier stages, when you first level up your ultimate, you always have like 0 charges because you're always spamming it to poke. So I think that this is going to be a really good buff. So now overall, he got like a buff here, it's an overall buff here, it's a buff here, and it's a nerf here. Now, so it seems that overall Corki got buffed. However, I think that package is probably the main reason you actually pick Corki. So I think that it could be argued that overall this is a slight nerf to Corki, even though he technically got buffed in a lot more areas than he's nerfed. But Corki is basically there for his package. So I'm kind of on the fence about whether this is a good or bad change, because they nerfed the package, but they buff like everything else, basically. So we'll have to see how it goes with Corki. Alright, so now Fiora, getting just a health per level buff by 10 health per level. Therefore, at level 15, she'll have roughly 100 plus 150, around 150 extra health. I think that that's a pretty negligible change. Jack's base AD going down by 6 because he's a little bit too strong. Apparently in both the Baron Lane and jungle, because people are still playing Jax in the jungle, although I don't think Jack's jungle is good anymore. But I do think Jack's Baron Lane is pretty good, especially when he uses Grasp, which is really OP at the moment. So yeah, only gonna really affect his like early levels, like his first like 3-4 levels maybe. After that, it's probably not gonna be noticeable anymore. Yeah, so Kassadin, we all know he's really broken. He did get that health nerf in the previous patch, which did basically nothing. So what they're nerfing now is they're nerfing the cooldown on his Q by 1 second, which doesn't actually matter to in my opinion. And the base damage is going down by 10 at all ranks, which is honestly doesn't really matter too much as well. Because the main issue with Kassadin is not really his Q. Like if they nerf his cooldown by like 3-4 seconds, maybe it would matter. But they're nerfing it by 1 second, and they're nerfing the damage by 10, which is really not too significant because his main like form of damage is his E and his ultimate, especially when your ultimate is stacked up really to the 2-3 stacks. So overall, I think that this isn't really going to affect Kassadin. He's still going to be really good. They need to kind of target the areas that need targeting. But we all know how it works. They normally nerf the champions a little bit by a little bit. So normally it occurs over like 4 or 5 patches where the champion finally will be nerfed to a okay level. So this is like his second nerf so far. So still probably more nerfs to come. Alright, next up, Pantheon apparently has been struggling. So what they're doing is they're buffing his Q and E. So on his Q, the base damage is going up by 10 at the base level and at the max level as well. 10 damage, not too significant, and the AD ratio going up by 10%. So that's not bad because Pantheon, like depending on what build, because Pantheon has quite a lot of builds, you can go for like Yomu's Black Cleaver or whatnot, but all of them actually all will give AD. So having extra 10% AD will help his damage by quite a bit. But we all know that Pantheon falls off in the late game, so in reality it only helps you for that little while. And his E cooldown is going down by a really significant amount, 4 seconds at all ranks, which is of course that targeted not immunity, but blocking damage in one particular direction, which is of course really good. Having the cooldown lower is going to be a lot more useful for his survivability, so I do think that that's pretty alright. But overall, I don't think this is going to help Pantheon all that much. I still think he's going to be about the same power level, just that it's good quality of life buffs. Renekton getting the same treatment as Fiora, getting extra 10 health per level. Personally, I don't think Renekton is that weak, but I guess that they do think that is the case. Alright, so now Teemo getting a couple of buffs. So his W, the move quick, basically that small roll that gives you movement speed, the passive movement speed is going up by 5% at all ranks. So he's going to be have a little bit more movement speed, which is not negligible because movement speed is a really important stat. And the active movement speed is going up by 10% in all ranks. So that's a lot of extra movement speed for Teemo. Should make it a lot easier to run people down or even run away if you do need that. And his Guerrilla Warfare, which is the invisibility one, the cooldown is going from a fixed 25 seconds to now reducing cooldown by 2 seconds at all ranks, up to 19 seconds at max rank. So yet again, that's going to help Teemo with his damage output because the Guerrilla Warfare gives him an increased attack speed when you come out of it, and of course in general stealth is just going to be really useful. So overall, a couple of buffs to Teemo, but overall I think the way Teemo's kit works will make it such that he's never going to be really that good, especially with the small Wild Rift map and lane bullies not being really good in Wild Rift. And the way Teemo is like very single target and more focused on winning lane than actually helping out in team fights, I don't think Teemo's really going to be that good no matter what kind of buffs you give him. Alright, now Veigar. This is the one I find the most interesting because Veigar was like trash tier until they buffed his event horizon by like 0.5 seconds. And then they buffed it again by like another 0.5 seconds. So basically his event horizon cooldown got buffed twice to lower that cooldown. But now they're kind of not just reverting it, but like making it worse. Because now they're upping the cooldown by 2 seconds at all ranks, which is not only removing the 2 buffs they gave him, but it's now like even over nerfing, like they're reverting the 2 buffs and then some. So the thing is, before these buffs came to be, Veigar was considered one of the worst, not one of the worst, but he's one of the lower tier mid lane champions because he takes way too long to get to a point where he does damage, and he didn't really, and his E was really good utility, but it wasn't really even that helpful. But actually, come to think of it, they did nerf the stun duration by like, I think like 0.25 seconds or like 0.5 seconds. So that probably contributed to it as well. So actually, it's not just the cooldown that got buffed, it's also the stun duration. So maybe this nerf is not as bad as I think it is, because maybe that stun duration is still going to be really, really helpful. So I think I'm gonna say that we'll have to see how this happens, because now you can cast your event horizon less often, but that increased stun duration is still there. So maybe this will actually make Veigar into a good power level. So we'll have to see about that. Alright, so now gameplay changes. So the Gargoyle enchant, we all know that it's really, really OP at the moment. Now, honestly, nothing has actually really changed about the Gargoyle enchant. Like, the only difference is that instead of getting extra health, now it's a shield. And because it's a shield, it's so much more visible to everybody, and now everybody thinks that it's OP, when in reality Gargoyle enchant hasn't changed for like the last year in terms of what it actually did. It's just that people didn't actually notice how OP it was until now, when it's a lot more obvious. So what they're doing to it is the base shield, instead of 30% max health, they're only gonna do it they're only gonna give you 20% max health. So that should give you a quite a significant amount less shield. Cooldown is going up by 15 seconds, and the enhanced shield duration is going up. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm not quite sure what the enhanced shield ratio exactly is, because if they're nerfing the base shield and they're upping the enhanced shield, will that end up being like the same or similar, or what? I'm not quite sure. So how big of a nerf this is kind of depends on what exactly the enhanced shield ratio is, but I don't actually really know what that is, so maybe I'm gonna have to go and find out. But the cooldown of 15 seconds, yeah, that definitely will help to a certain extent. Now, Guardian Angel is not an enchantment, kind of a typo there, but Guardian Angel, they say it's being picked up as a second or third item. I guess that is the case on some junglers, like maybe Jarvan or Lee Sin. And yeah, I've seen a lot of Jarvans especially pick up GA first item. I don't think it's actually good at all. And there was that like GA first item meta long time ago, when GA used to cost like below 3,000 gold. I think it used to be like 2850, I think. Then they nerfed it like twice. Like 150 gold extra and then 200 gold extra to make it 3,100, so that people would start buying it as their first or second item. And but apparently now that trend is coming online again, and now they're nerfing it by 300 gold just straight up. So now it's gonna be 3,400 gold. And now the bad thing about this is 3,400 gold basically makes it that in like the physical items department, there's only 2 items now that cost more than this, which is Divine Sunder, which is 3,450, and Triforce, which is 3,533. So this is really, really expensive now. Like, it's really, really expensive, because like, imagine how much a Divine Sunder gets you for 50 more gold compared to a GA. Now, I know that a revive is nothing to scoff at, because a revive literally means that you die and you come back to life with half of your health, no less. But I really think that Guardian Angel is not gonna be very worth it anymore, because for a lot less gold you could be getting like for ADCs you could be getting like another crit item. On like a lot of other champions you could be getting like another, like you could be getting like a tank item for a lot less, you know. So it's like, it's really, really expensive. So I think that probably GA is not going to be the default item for a lot of builds now. Like for ADCs, it's not going to be the default item like for their last item. And like for maybe like top lane or jungle, it's not going to be like your third item anymore. I feel like Guardian Angel will always have a place in the meta just because of how good the revive is, but I just feel that it won't be core on a lot of champions anymore. I feel that it will be a little bit more situational, where like, or maybe you have like your legendary and you have a huge shutdown, so you need to get yourself the GA to prevent yourself from giving over the shutdown, then maybe you would go for a GA. Or you're in a match with like multiple assassins and you're a carry, you need the GA, that kind of thing. But I feel that it's not going to be like every single match kind of thing anymore, which is what it is now. Alright, so Magnetron enchant, no one is building this. I don't think I've ever seen this, and if I have seen this, it's so not obvious that I have not noticed it. I've not noticed it at all. Like literally, I have not recalled a single time I've seen anybody use the Magnetron enchant. I've tried it twice myself, but I didn't really think it was very good, because it's competing for that enchant slot where there are so many other better things you could build. So Magnetron enchant, gold cost going down to 500 to be more competitive. I think that's a really good buff. I still don't think it's going to help too much though, because no matter what the cost is, you're still competing with so many other better enchants. I really don't think anybody's going to build this. Now the very quick blades, cost is going down by 200, and the cooldown on the remaining cooldown refund is going up from 15 to 20%, so that's going to be pretty significant. And a very quick blaze is actually a pretty good item on certain champions like Zaya, for example, but just that most people don't really build it because there are just other better items to build, namely normally Bloodthirster instead. But now with the GA getting nerfed, maybe in a very quick blaze is going to be a really good like third or fourth crit item for a lot of ADCs, so we're going to have to see how that shakes out. And skins, we have Lunar Goddess Diana coming out on September 9th, and that is pretty much it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and it was insightful. So thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye